and welcome to Learning with Lisa. Today we are going to discuss the pros and cons of a job share in teaching. Before we begin, let's just define what a job share is. It's actually the practice of two teachers sharing a contract of employment, but splitting the hours they do between them. Throughout my career, I've done a number of job shares. Before my first one, I never really understood the implication of what sharing a contract of employment meant. Much to my surprise, it didn't mean each teacher being responsible for their part of the week. My school informed me it meant that both teachers were responsible for the whole education their pupils were receiving. Let me give you an example of what I mean. For one of my job shares, they brought in somebody who was in the school to do 2 days of the week that I didn't do. And she was really resentful because she didn't want to be taken away from her department. I didn't want to be a class teacher. And it was very difficult to get her to commit as a class teacher rather than act as if she was doing supply cover for me for the 2 days I didn't work. This caused a really big problem in sharing the workload. And when I spoke to management about it, their attitude was, you were both sharing the class, you were both sharing the job, it's down to both of you to make it work. As a consequence of this, it meant that I had to do extra work to make sure the classroom ran smoothly as we were judged as one. So this can be a problem if one member of the job share is not committed as the other. I'm sure not all schools share this view, but that was the view shared in my school. So now we've cleared that up, let's get down to the pros of having a job share. So obviously the first one is your work-life balance should improve. It's really great if you have family commitments. You can also attend appointments much easier during the week. Another bonus is that you have somebody else to bounce ideas off of. As they say, two heads are better than one. You can also share the teaching, and there could be a chance that you're able to teach to your curriculum expertise and your job share can do the same. Another bonus of a job share is that should you need to take time off for an appointment or a special event, your partner teacher may be able to cover, and then that stops the need of getting a supply teacher in, which in itself makes lots more work having to set lessons and plans, etc. I know of one example where one part of the job share wanted to go to Australia for a month. So the other member of the job share covered for her, and then when she returned the favour so the other job share could go off and go on her holiday. I'm not sure all schools would be as flexible as this, but no doubt if you had a very important event, they'd let you swap days. If you ask nicely, maybe. Another bonus of doing a job share is that it allows teachers who would resign or retire to carry on teaching and to accrue years of service to go towards their pension. And least of all, the children, they benefit of course because they are potentially exposed to two different styles of teaching, and perhaps an enthusiastic teacher who's just having to teach part of the week instead of all of the week. So what are the cons? Well, part-time teaching is rarely part-time. I described it as doing full-time hours for part-time pay. You will need to be prepared to spend additional time coordinating with your partner to discuss lesson planning, issues with children, parental concerns, etc. The ideal situation is where teachers do 50-50 and they both have their non-contact time on a Wednesday morning to sit and discuss things, but I think this is happening less and less. You will also have to accept that you'll lose control over how your classroom is set up. You're going to have to sort of compromise, and no doubt your partner teacher will have different ideas, and this can be quite tricky in especially an early years classroom where the learning environment is so critical. Another con is that it's quite likely that you won't be able to choose the teacher you share your contract with. There could be a conflict of personality. One of my most effective job shares was when I had the privilege of being able to sit on the interview panel and I was allowed to choose the person I wanted. I didn't choose the person with the most experience, I chose the person who I thought I would get on with the best. I went with my gut instinct. It worked really well. We shared the same style of teaching and expectations, and it was all really good. Sharing a classroom can lead to potential discipline problems unless there is a consistent approach to behaviour management. Children can quite easily become confused as to what is accepted. One teacher might accept something and the other teacher might not. Or children might play you off against each other. You get like, oh, Miss S said I could do this. So just be aware of that. There really needs to be a unified approach when dealing with children and parents. You'd be surprised at how parents can play both teachers off as well. A big negative for me was the amount of meetings I had to attend. I worked the first 3 days of the week, and on Mondays I had a meeting after school. On Tuesday I had a lunchtime meeting, and on Wednesday I had another meeting after school. And that left very little time for marking and doing displays and all the admin. So as a result, I did those things on my days off. Resentment can build when you're the teacher that's required to attend all the meetings and the teacher at the end of the week doesn't have to attend any. The ideal solution is where I know of some schools who swap the meeting day. So one term it might be on a Monday and the next term it might be on a Thursday. So both teachers get to do their fair share of staff meetings. Not only do staff meetings take away time when you could be doing jobs in your classroom, you also become responsible for passing on all the information to your partner teacher. And inevitably, you might forget to pass on some of the information, and then problems can arise from that. One of my schools was quite particular in that our job share partnership had to appear seamless, and they went to the extent of looking through our books and criticising us because my handwriting was different to my partner's when we were writing comments when marking. I'm not sure all schools would be that fussy though. Job sharing doesn't work for everybody, and it definitely won't work if there's no compromise. There does need to be a compromise on both sides. In my experience, the other problem with being part-time was that my school management did not appreciate that I had days off. I'd chosen to take days off and not be paid, and I would be getting phone calls, emails constantly on my days off. So those are the pros and cons, but let's be positive and let's think about what we can do to make a job share work. I would recommend that before you begin, you sit down and you make a plan together. You decide on these following things. You need to decide how the work will be split up. Not just the teaching in the classroom, but things like marking homework, doing assessments, attending school functions, and importantly, parents' evenings. We agreed that we would both attend on both days so the parents could fire questions at us both. And we knew what the parents were saying about us as well. With homework, you have to be careful that a teacher doesn't set it on the Friday and it's handed on the Monday and that teacher is expected to mark it. So there's lots of little things to think about, which can easily build resentment if it's not discussed. Also, don't just think, right, we'll split it half and half. If one teacher is doing 60% of the week and the other is doing 40, then you need to split it accordingly. And that goes for things like display boards in the classroom. You need to agree on rules for behaviour, and they need to be followed consistently by both teachers for reasons we spoke about earlier. In terms of classroom organisation, I suggest you both go into the classroom before the term begins and organise it together. Agree on the set areas in the classroom and agree which display boards each member of the job share is responsible for. On classroom management, I just want to say about resources. I think it's really important that each teacher respects the resources and make sure, that when it's your turn to teach, the children are putting the lids back on the whiteboard pens. You don't want the teacher the next day to go in and find all the pens don't work. So it's about really being respectful and mindful that you're sharing a space and resources with somebody else. You need to decide on the amount of homework each teacher will give. You don't want to overload the pupil with too much. Make sure you share out planning fairly. Like I said earlier, if it's a 60-40 split, then the teacher that does 60% of the teaching needs to do 60% of the planning. You might want to share the subjects each term, so both teachers have a chance of planning each subject throughout the year. Good communication is key and critical to making a job share work. You will need to have lengthy phone calls and emails to discuss behaviour issues, planning, assessment and parental concerns. However, texting each other and sending emails throughout the day is not a good idea, especially if the person who is receiving them is on their day off. So before you begin, you need to decide together when, how and how often you are going to communicate. Emails are good. A really good thing I had was like a little notebook in the classroom, so as things happened, I could jot it down. But it is really, really important that your job share knows exactly what has gone on when you're in the classroom. If you're getting like emails and phone calls throughout the day, it really makes it difficult to feel that you're actually on your day off and you can unwind, and that's not really fair. So there you have it. That's my thoughts on pros and cons of job shares. Would I do a job share again? It depends on the circumstances, but you do need to go into it with your eyes open. I hope you found my video useful. If you did, please could you give it a like? That really helps the channel. And if you haven't subscribed, then maybe you could consider subscribing. I hope to see you again. Thank you for watching, and bye bye for now. Bye!